funky.
Welcome to the DJ Doa Show.
Hula, just hula.
Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
9,000! What, 9,000?
Damn, Daniel, back at it again with the white man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another episode of the DJ Doa Show. Thank you all for being so patient while I took my 2-week hiatus from the podcast. It's not that I didn't have content. I actually had some things to do, and I wouldn't have had the time to sit down and properly put my thoughts down and do the show as you would require it. So I took a week off to go and mentor an amazing group of teenagers out in the bush, where it was like a career guidance boot camp. And I was facilitating it with a good friend of mine, and it was a lot of fun. And then I also took a week off so that I could pursue a few writing projects. I'm putting together an anthology, and I'm also doing a pretty exciting short story that I don't know if I'll release to the general public, and if I do, you'll know why. I'm laughing about it, but yeah, I just took some time off to pursue those two things because much like the DJ Doa Show, I showed some people a few of my writing things, and they said, "Hey, listen, you've got to do something with this. So if you can, man, put it down." So that's what I did. I put it down, and if you ever see it, you're lucky. If you don't, I'm in. So that's where it's at. But in my absence, people, thank you. 1,000 plays and downloads, y'all. And I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for your love and support. And please make sure that you send me that message. You saw the Facebook post so that I can answer a question for you. I mean, essentially, you know that the show is based on real conversation, so every episode that I do is pretty much what I'm asking from you guys. Just send me a question and I will answer it as part of an episode. And in case you wanted to know, I actually also in this 2-week period came up with the manifesto, which is the defining mantra or the defining thinking, or what is this podcast about. Because as a Scorpio, I'm a lover of love. I'm all about the relationships. I'm all about, just going all out, in the name of love. And so that's what this podcast is about, because I talk to a lot of people who want to enjoy love, but it's just something that seems like it's for the people over there. And so I wrote this manifesto as a way of saying to people, this is what this podcast is about, and also saying to myself, this is what I'm committing to producing content for, right? So here's the manifesto. It says, my podcast is for people who still believe in love and commitment. It's for everyone who doesn't want to end up a victim of the hookup culture we have today. It's for people who are tired of hearing generalizations about men and women. It's for people who refuse to be limited by negative statistics. It's for those who have made mistakes and are tired of repeating them. It's for people who want real relationships. It's for people who want to learn how to make love work. I may not know everything, but I do know this. There are people out there searching for something real, and I want to play my part in helping them find it. That's pretty much it, man. That's what I'm committing to, and I'm sure there's some people out there who would be interested in hearing about how to hook up with girls or how to hook up with guys. This ain't the podcast for you then, because for me, this is about people who are looking for something more meaningful and would like to learn a thing or two about committing to that. So please, by all means, continue supporting and listening, and I will be committed to doing that. There are some episodes you're going to think are overshare, but they're not, because I have committed to what I just read. So that is about 4 minutes and 50 seconds of needless ranting. Let's get into the episode. So today's episode is called The Only Love Triangle You Should Lose Sleep Over. And this is based on a conversation I had with a 23, 24-year-old lawyer who is doing quite well for herself. She's just started in her career. And, you know, when you've just started in a career and you're trying to establish yourself, it's guns blazing. Work, like Rihanna's Jam. And so, you know, after work one day, she went to her aunt's house and she had the typical, now you're working, where your man's at conversation. You know, it's tough being a girl sometimes, you know, particularly in cultures like Zimbabwe, where when you're a teenager, boys are taboo. You know, if you talk about boys, you'll be shot in the head. Like, you don't even think about the opposite sex. And then when you are studying, it gets even worse because you've got to get a degree. And then when you're unemployed after your degree, it's even worse. Still, you can't get a boyfriend when you're not working. You've got to bring something to the table. And then the day you get your job, it's like, where your man's at? And so she had this conversation, and she was really annoyed. But in speaking to her, I heard something that I hear in a lot of people, which is, although you are frustrated by it, the conversation you're having to say, look, I just want to be about my career, but you guys are trying to shove, you know, a man or a relationship down my throat. I'm just trying to do me right now, you know. I don't need this. But then you also then hear in the background of that, I would just want to do me, interest in the opposite sex. You hear the slight nuances of, but you know what, but it's so hard to find someone when you're working, you know, it's so hard to do this and that. And so you kind of get this idea of people do want to focus on their careers, they do want to work, but they also want to have something meaningful on the side, but they just don't know how to operate or navigate that idea. And so the quotable for today is, you know, there are many people who get roped into weird relationships because they can't define where they are or what they want, right? I'll say that again. Many people get roped into weird relationships because they can't define where they are or what they want. So either my friend's aunt will pressure her into getting into a relationship, and so it's going to be weird because the idea of why she's doing it is not purely her own, it's somebody else's, and etc., etc. So the thing that I spoke to her about is about thinking of your life and relationships in a proactive manner. So there's some people who are happy to be happy-go-lucky about the way they fall into relationships. They're not really looking for it. Oop, here comes a dude. Oh, wow, you know, or there's this chick that I just met at a cocktail, and then, you know, you weren't really thinking about being in a relationship, but you found something. You're like, damn, let's get into it, you know? So there's some people who are happy to do that, and there's some people it works for them. But then there's other people who want to be more proactive about, you know, the relationships they get into. They just don't want to make it a haphazard thing. They want to be on top of that situation. So this is an episode for people who are in that boat. You know, you do think about relationships, but you do have other priorities in your life. And you just want to know, you know, how can I figure this out? How can I define it? How can I get what I want? This episode is for you. Okay, and so what I'm going to be teaching you is what I like to call the triangle of expectations. And I first learned about the triangle of expectations from working in marketing, and it was something we used to do with clients to set their expectations about how we were going to deliver the work that they asked us to do. So the thing is, you know, a triangle has got 3 angles. And so you write 3 variables on each angle, and you tell the person that you can only have 2, and the other one you can't have, or it's going to suffer. And I think that triangle works very well when you're trying to define, you know, your what relationships you want, or how you want to get into them, or what sort of situation you're looking for. And so I'm going to give you 3 variables. And remember, you can only have 2. You can definitely have 2 of them, but then 1 you can't have, or it's going to suffer. And then, you know, it's not that it'll always be like that, but unless you make the necessary adjustments and the necessary changes, it might be difficult to get out of never having that last variable. Okay, so picture it, if you will. I'm going to have a post where you actually see this physically, but if you want, you can either picture it or you can actually draw this for yourself if you've got a pen and paper, but put down a triangle, right? And at the top of the triangle, for the top angle, I want you to write great career, right? This is for men and women, by the way. So I know I've talked to a girl, but this applies to anyone, right? So at the top of the triangle, write great career, right? And then at the bottom right of the triangle, I want you to write desired relationships. And then in the bottom left angle, I want you to write personal freedom, right? So remember, you can definitely have two of them, but the other one that you left out, either you can't have it at all or it's going to greatly suffer. So let's do the maths, right? So if you want a great career and the desired relationships in your life, your personal freedom is going to suffer, because if you are trying to date or if you are going to be in a relationship and you are going to be going to work, you're not going to really have that much time to yourself. So if you're someone who's still in a space where your personal freedom is something you desire, you just want to be in your jammies, sitting at home watching TV, binge watching Netflix or something, then you understand that you're going to be about your career, right? And you're going to be about your desired relationship. So if your personal freedom, something is important to you, then that variable, is going to have to suffer, right? If you want a great career and personal freedom, right, then your desired relationships either are not going to exist or they're going to suffer, right? So if let's say you work hectic hours, like my friend who's a lawyer, lawyers work hectic hours sometimes, especially when you're starting off. Sometimes you're coming home 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're putting in the grind. Then the last thing you want is when you get home is some dude or some girl writing to you, how come you don't spend enough time with me? How come you don't? You don't want to hear that crap, right? So you are definitely about your career and you definitely want to have as much freedom as you want. So then that means the desired relationships which you're looking for is not going to work out. Now, when you're young, I personally don't support anyone or recommend, rather, anyone who wants a PF and DR. So like personal freedom and desired relationships, which means that your career is going to suffer. Because if you want to be going out to movies, going on holidays, if you want to be going on holidays, if you want to be spending a lot of time doing things like pursuing personal hobbies like that cupcaking gig that you really like, or that book writing club that you really wanted to join, and you also want to be in a committed relationship, etc., and you want to get married and you want to start the family and all of that, your career will suffer. I actually spoke to my cousin, who is a wonderful lawyer, but when she had her first child, and is now expecting a second one, she was actually now having serious conversations about whether she wants to go back to law or she wants to raise her kids. So it's one of those where the desired relationship she has is that she's got the family, she's got the husband, she's got the children. Personal freedom is something that's is very hard to come by, especially when you have kids. So she deals with that the way she deals with that. But her career is now ultimately going to be the thing that's going to have to suffer, because she needs time with her family and she needs time, to herself. So the career one is probably going to catch a bit of a dent. Catch my drift. So let me play my first song and then I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about how to go there. But while the song is playing, think about which two variables you want. Are you great career and desired relationships, which means your personal freedom is going to suffer? Or are you great career and personal freedom, which means the desired relationships are going to suffer? When I come back, we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth, and we'll see how it goes. Righto. So my first jammy jam is Too Good off Drake's new album. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. And overall, I think the album is, it's alright. Views from the 6, it's alright. It's not a ride home to mom. Oh my God, listen, my ears are absolutely having an orgasm right now, but it'll do. And so this song is Too Good featuring Rihanna, and there's nothing more I can say about it. It's a good jam, so enjoy yourselves. What up?